Welcome to the cert-manager developer meeting. It is the 3rd of November 2021. Yeah, usual suspects here for ChatStack on the cert-manager team, and also joined by Brady. Yes, the first thing I wanted to talk about, I had a link there to the kind of Slack message, is about cmctl in Arch Linux. The person who posted the message, Christian, I believe his name is, he's a maintainer for the cmctl cert-manager plugin, the kind of Arch Linux package. And he asked about whether we want cmctl to be a separate Arch Linux package, or do we want it bundled into the existing cmctl cert-manager plugin package. I gave like a long response that was kind of went in circles a little bit, but I gave like my personal opinion is that ideally, and I bring this up because it might not be like isolated, like we can kind of come to a reasonable kind of conclusion with Arch Linux, but I wonder if this is the decision we make here is kind of influencing what we do with like other distributions or however things get packaged elsewhere. But I came to the conclusion that it's probably better if cmctl was packaged separately to kubectl, the kubectl plugin. I think that made the most sense to me. I think it might be confusing for users to, if they want to install cmctl, they'd be searching, or the package name would be different to what the command is called, and kind of grepping on Google and things like that might be a bit confusing. I think that's the main reason why I prefer them to be packaged separately. Yeah, I don't know if other people have any thoughts. My counter argument to that was that it might also be equally confusing that you can have different versions of the cert-manager CLI depending on how it's invoked. So cmctl might be a different installed version to kubectl cert-manager, which yeah might be annoying / confusing. But on the whole, it might be better that cmctl is always packaged differently or separately.
I suppose the cmctl separate package, it would include the, what is it, like the bash completion file, whereas the kubectl plugin needn't have that because it doesn't support completion. So it would make sense to keep it separate for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's nothing stopping you from having them both in the same package and also having auto completion for cmctl. I think a lot of these kind of like packaging languages or packaging frameworks are kind of a nicer bash script, for a lack of a better phrase. So I think they are like, you can basically do anything in them to a certain degree. So I don't think there's any kind of technical reasons why you couldn't have auto completion and install kubectl cert-manager at the same time. Yeah, to my knowledge.
For my part, I think what you wrote is really good. I think it sums up probably the ideal.
Pac-Man have a recommended packages system. Like you could recommend that if someone installed the kubectl plugin that they installed cmctl.
Yeah, that would be good as well.
I haven't used Arch in a long time, so
it does have that, yeah.
Separate packages and like they can recommend each other is probably a good.
Actually, I'd like to walk back me saying it has that. My Pac-Man helper has that. I think it's a Pac-Man thing generally, but I don't want to say generally it has that because maybe that's a specific thing to Yay, which I use.
I think that might not be true. I think I've never seen it on Pac-Man, at least. They do have, which I brought up in the message. I can't remember if I sent it to the private message to him or not because I flagged the package as out of date. But they do have like conflicts, but they're certainly not conflicting packages, so that we can't really use that feature as
It's like there's something called opt depends.
Richard's on Fedora, right?
Yeah. I don't know whether Fedora package any of the cmctl stuff. I've never thought about it.
I would love to have Linux repositories for all this stuff and have done such stuff professionally before, but it's probably a while of effort to do that. We won't get buy-in for.
I'll say something stupid. I could add it to Homebrew.
That's
Sure.
not stupid.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, before we do any of that, shall we make sure we're updating the crew index,
That's a good point.
which we always forget about? We don't want even more things that we're going to forget about.
I will take away an action to go and check that tomorrow.
How does the crew? How does crew work with the cmctl standalone binary? Does it?
It doesn't. I don't know.
Store that?
Unless we add it. But I don't know if they would add it, given that it's not a kubectl plugin.
Yeah, I think that'd be the case. Yeah. Am I wrong in saying, or misremembering, that we had some kind of automation for crew, or we tried it and it doesn't work?
Our specific workflow clashes really awkwardly with how the GitHub Actions workflow they recommend is set up. So it's just it was going to spiral and take more work, so we didn't do it.
You replace Bazel with make. Sure, that's when you can do it, right?
That would make it significantly easier. Yeah.
By the way, on Homebrew, if I want this to appear on the like the general Homebrew that everybody has, then you have to have like at least 50 stars, I think, on the project. Which is the case, but no one is going to use it anyways.
I think they might.
I mean, I would. Do we have numbers on Arch?
I'll probably find some.
I would use it, especially as cmctl can install cert-manager. It would just be useful for my development workflow. Like I would change my workflow, but I could use it.
Yeah.
There's no
in
obvious
the meantime,
metrics.
I could do a tap instead.
Can you ever get Arch Linux metrics, like because of the nature of the way the repositories
maybe
work?
not.
Yeah, I guess there's an optional usage tracker thing you can install, which I suspect, given the distribution of people who use Linux, probably doesn't get installed very often. Certainly, I haven't.
Especially the people that use Arch.
Homebrew that does that automatically. It is opt out. You have to opt out. Let's say it's a nice thing if you are maintaining a tab. I'm maintaining a tab, so I need this information.
Getting flashbacks to the what's the audio software?
Audacity.
Audacity.
Cool. Yes, then the question is answered. We should tell Christian we think separate packages are better, and can he opt-depend them on each other, just so that if you install one, it says consider installing cmctl.
We certainly want to do it for qctl to cmt. Oh gosh. We certainly want to do it for qctl cert-manager to cmctl, but do we want to do it the other way, given that we encourage users to use cmctl over kubectl?
Yeah. Probably not then.
I agree with that.
Cool. I guess that's everything on the agenda then. So we can start recording and then see what happens after.